Hey, what is up and how's it going? All wrestling fans and all MRB fans, and welcome to another video with me. I am Mike McRock, and I am one half of the McRock and Bolt, the MRB Wrestling Review Show. And holy crap, it feels like forever. It feels like forever. And you're probably wondering, where have I been? Well, holy crap. It's been, what, over 3 years since I uploaded a video on this channel? Over 3 years! Think about that. The last video that I uploaded was around April of 2018. And all talking about NXT, that's pretty much what this channel has been about when I brought it back some years ago. It was all about me talking about NXT, and I'm going to do that here again today. Yes, if you've been wondering, I have been following NXT since I've been absent for 3 years. Yes, it has its ups. It has its downfalls. But I always thought NXT was the most watchable brand for me personally. I've always enjoyed it no matter what. Whether if it's a great show, an outstanding show, or a bad show, or a horrible show. There's always something that I find when I look for when it comes to watching NXT. There's always something. But now, oh, the mighty have fallen, haven't they? The mighty sure have fallen. A lot of people have been released within NXT, and I'll get to that much later in this video. Now, I done a video about 6 years ago where I talked about how WWE ruined NXT, and I gave a list of names of talent within NXT that have been brought up to Raw and SmackDown, and how they were pretty much either ruined or underused or misused or what have you. And all those things to me still remain true to this very day. I still feel like that video does hold up. It did age very well, I think. And when it comes to the current state now of NXT, oh my god. And I feel like it's necessary to do a part 2 of WWE Ruined NXT. Only when you clicked on the title of this video, it does not say WWE Ruined NXT, but NXT Ruined NXT. NXT dug a hole 6 feet deep and buried itself under the ground. And you could thank a lot of people about this. But the big names, Vince, he's to me the biggest problem. From what I understand, Nick Khan, I think he has some contribution into ruining NXT as well. Now, when I've been absent, AEW was not even a thing, and I'll get to that as well. But let's go back to the very beginning. Well, not necessarily the beginning, but the peak of NXT, where roughly around 2015 or 16, when NXT was starting to get really, really hot, and then 2017 came along, it was still really good, and then 2018 happened. I think that's when NXT was at its very best, and 2019 has some really positive things as well. I mean, when you look at it, 2015 to 2020, that's pretty much NXT in a nutshell. To me, that is the best of NXT. When it comes to 2020, oh, there were many downfalls, absolutely. And then 2021 happened, and holy shit. Shit really hit the fan within the past few days. Before I get to all that, a lot of things have happened with NXT when I've been absent. I mean, NXT, as we all know, moved to 2 hours. It moved to the USA Network. And I don't know if this is an issue or a detriment or a positive for NXT, but because NXT at that particular time had a loaded roster, I think it did benefit them to go to 2 hours, and I think it did benefit them to move to another network because you need to grow and change and develop. I think when NXT was an hour, to me they should have never stayed an hour long term because that will potentially ruin NXT. But moving that to 2 hours, I still think that was necessary, even with the loaded roster that they had. And then the Wednesday Night Wars happened, and we all know how that panned out. And I can't believe I'm calling it the Wednesday Night Wars because it's far from it. Definitely far from the Wednesday Night Wars. You had NXT and you had AEW. Both at the time were drawing less than 1 million. Now, before NXT moved to Wednesdays, AEW was on that Wednesday slot. And on their first night, they drew over 1 million views, which was impressive. Absolutely impressive. And then the Wednesday Night Wars. I don't know why people were calling it that. I mean, yeah, it was definitely a war to get the less views, not the most views. Let's just put it that way. And when all of that happened, it did not help NXT one single bit. It did not help AEW one single bit. That whole schmozzle benefited no one. It really didn't in the long term, even in the short term for that matter. And that, to me, was the first sign that NXT was going to go under the ground, and boy, was I right. Now, I should retract that sentence. It wasn't the first sign. It was one of the biggest signs, I should say. The first sign was when I'd done the first video on how WWE ruined NXT. That was the first signal. Why have a developmental show when you're going to put out these guys on Raw and SmackDown and not use them well? So what's the point of NXT? That was my whole thing from a number of years ago, and I still stand by that. And then, one time, when they did do hour shows, they done takeover shows sporadically. Only about like 6 or 7 or something like that. Now they've done like a lot of takeover shows ever since they moved to being 2 hours. And then, to me, that just oversaturated everything. It overkilled, it overexposed everything. So that's pretty much exactly what happened. That was, to me, the real start of the downfall. Is the oversaturation, the not necessarily the move to Wednesday nights, but the whole Wednesday Night Wars thing really did not help. That did not help one single bit. And another thing, too, which I probably mentioned in the past on this very channel. When NXT was an hour, they were always about developing the new and the next generation and all that sort of stuff. They were at that time. And once they got into the 2 hour slot, and then they said, to me, they started focusing more on the in-ring work, which is not a problem. I don't find that as a problem. But the problem is that they were focused and emphasized more on the flips and the kicks and the nose selling and the crash test dummy type of stuff and the too many false finishes type of stuff. Matches that go on for way too long. They're focusing more on that and less on the developing, which to me is another detriment to NXT. But to me, what really killed NXT this time is Vince taking over. And you bet your bottom dollar that is the biggest problem. When Triple H was more involved than Vince was, it did come across in a way like a glorified indie show. It did. Even though they did have really, really good takeover events. Not everything one of them was, but when they did have them, they still had that vibe of that glorified indie type show. Which, here's the thing. Wrestling always best when it works as a variety. Too much of one thing really ruins it. And the way I see it, that's what they were doing. There was too much emphasis on the smaller dudes and not enough on the bigger dudes at one particular point. I mean, the way I see it, even though was it Keith Lee and Dijakovic had a really good North American Championship match, those were the type of guys that to me should have been competing for the NXT Championship, not the North American Championship. I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And when you have guys like Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano and a few others, much of the smaller guys, those are the guys that should be competing for something like the North American or the Cruiserweight or what have you, because that's what they are, they're Cruiserweights. To me, they're mid-card guys. Now, you could say that some small guys could be guys that have some star quality to them, sure. Adam Cole, to some extent, might have that. But guys like Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Strong, no, they don't. I don't think they have it. Tommaso Ciampa, I think, does. He absolutely does. But the way I see it, it's too much of that boring vanilla. I'm not going to say midget because that is an insult to actual midgets. But it's too much of that flippy, kicky, boring, bland type stuff that to me ruins wrestling. And that's what NXT done. Too much emphasis on that and not enough of the characters in the story. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't any, because there was. But the way I see it, NXT dug its own grave when they focused more on that, and when Vince took over, and the contribution that Nick Khan put in helping ruining NXT. I mean, there was a viral video going around that it was on an NXT show, and there was a couple of people in the ring, and then the camera pans to a TV monitor, and it had AEW on the channel. Oh, Christ. I mean, what? Why? Why is Vince NXT more vaccinated on AEW? And vice versa. AEW is doing the same thing too. Kind of reminds me of something, but I'm not going to go into detail what that is. But, holy shit. NXT has ruined NXT, and not only that, Vince McMahon has ruined NXT too. So there you have it. That's the way I see it. That's just that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. I don't know. This is the first. I hope I wasn't rusty into formulating my thoughts with this video, because I haven't done one in over 3 years on this channel. So tell me, what do you think about what's happened to NXT? Oh, by the way, I was going to mention this again. The releases. I haven't talked about the releases, and I might as well. So before I end this video, there were releases that came out not too long ago. The one that really hurt the most was Bronson Reed. Mercedes Martinez was a surprise. Tyler Rust just got there with the new group, the Diamond Mine. What the heck? About 12 to 13 releases that NXT done, that Vince let go. And now people are saying that NXT is dead. I can agree with that. I can agree with everything everyone is saying about NXT. It's a damn shame too, because NXT at one point from 2015 or 16, even going back just a little bit further than that, to about 2019, 2020, was so damn good. It was so damn good. The best wrestling show on any given day. What the hell happened? What the hell happened?